doing a live stream from wherever we are. And to confirm where we are, that's still in Malaysia. Last few days before we leave and head off to somewhere new. But let me start tonight's show. First of all, look at my face. I've been in the sun too long today. I've caught the sun and I've got it all over my cheeks and my forehead. I can feel it today. I can feel the burn on my skin. Right, I've got three big topics to talk about today. First one is going to be about the market recovery, where my financial position is at right now. Second one is a big date that happened this week that I want to touch upon a little bit, and also a little bit more about the kind of house sitting things, just the structure of it and what we're doing. But I've got a whole bunch of other things to run through, a whole bunch of other topics to kind of cover off in today, tonight, this afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, whatever time zone you're in. It's just gone midnight here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I think it's probably about 5 p.m. UK time for the vast majority of people that are typically watching this. So welcome along to the kind of early viewers. Let me know you're here. I'll give you a little shout out as we do this live. Good evening, Mr. Old. How you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let me just have a quick look and make sure I'm getting my chat coming up here before we get going. Yeah, I've got it going here. Dean, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us, mate. I'm well. I'm just saying at the start of this, look at my face. I've gone all salmon pink from sitting out in the sun today. We're in a new apartment, just moved out of a past apartment which we've stayed in a few times, and I'm feeling it a little bit from the sun today. Got a little bit of a workout in. Mark, how you doing? 5 p.m. in the UK. Thanks, mate, for letting me know. Yeah, so just after midnight here, right? So three big topics to cover tonight, and then just a whole bunch of other stories over the next hour or so, depending on how quickly I get through these. First one, really, just to talk about the markets, right, and the market conditions. And I've talked a little bit in my last couple of videos about my stock portfolio, which I typically hold on Interactive Brokers. Just over the last week to 2 weeks, it was as low down as was about $32,000 down at one stage, and that can be a little bit touch and cloth when you're kind of looking at those numbers. However, stocks that I own, I'm in the long term with them. Now, as I look at the market tonight, right, today is the 9th of April. Market's been open a couple of hours. That 32,000 negative position is now more like negative 8,000, so it's started to recover. Some of the stocks that I've been holding are doing fairly well, bit of recovery on them, so I'm doing all right with that. Let me give a quick shout out. Hello, Kelly. How you doing? Jack, nice to see you. Michael, good to have you along, mate. Thanks for joining us. Marina, how you doing? Nice to see you. Marina, I sent you a little message on Patreon. I don't know if you've seen it yet, making this into a one-to-one conversation, but check that out. Michael, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Jack, have you looked into covered call ETFs for income? Yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm focusing on some stocks that I'm holding myself just now and pretty comfortable with those. Victoria, how you doing? Nice to see you. Yvonne's just gone to bed just now. She's gone to relax. She's probably watching this on her phone. She tells me she goes to bed to sleep and then she sits and watches this on her phone. Yeah, so my stock brokerage account, right, was down about 32,000 just 2 weeks ago. Now it's down just about 8,000. And I've got a couple of stocks in there that are doing pretty well. I wrote some cash secure puts on a stock called Rocket Lab, which was down around the kind of 60 range and has recovered to around $70. I own a stock called Spire, which I've wrote some covered calls on. So I'll be letting that stock go because it's actually above the strike price that it's at just now. And my SoFi stock is doing okay just now. In fact, I just read news a couple of minutes ago that SoFi has just been named by Forbes as the #1 bank. So the stock's been down. It's been as high as about $30, and it's been down recently as low as 14.90 or 14.70. And when it's been down at those levels, I've been adding just a little bit more, and also writing cash secured puts. I just wrote a contract tonight for 5 contracts for December. Picked up a couple of dollars worth of a fee, so about 1,000, so about $1,200 in fees for contracts. 5 contracts expiring in December with a strike price of, I think, $15. I think I wrote it for $15. So I'm hopeful that that stock recovers as the year progresses. And of course, everything is related to what's happening in Iran. I've just seen a little bit of news there that the Strait of Hormuz looks like it was reopened, and now it looks like it might be closed again, and all sorts of is there a ceasefire? Is there not ceasefire? Is things going on? Who knows? So A Dash, welcome, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'm just talking about that interesting week in the markets. I looked at SoFi last night and saw it go from about $16 to about $17. So a little bit of recovery on my account as well. But again, I'm in a long-term hold for this kind of stuff. Tomorrow, I'm publishing a video that will talk about 90 days here in Malaysia, cost of living for 90 days. That'll go live tomorrow. I'd hoped to make that a little bit sooner, but I actually just took a few days off, and I'll talk about that in a second as to why I did that. So yeah, it's been a kind of interesting few days, if not weeks, in the market for stocks and prices and everything else. Hello, Julie. How you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yvonne's just a few minutes ago gone to bed, but as I said, she's probably watching this on her phone, or hopefully she's gone to sleep to get some rest. I'm a bit knackered. Right, so that's a little bit about the stocks. Right now, let me just say this. I do cover a lot more in detail about stock positions that I hold, why I hold them, what I'm writing in my Patreon account. And we've just hit 78 members. And I've just announced on the platform that when I get to 100 members, I'll invoke my first price increase. So everybody who's in just now, people who are already members, whether that's on any one of the 3 tiers, their prices will be held. I won't make any changes to those prices for the people that are in it. But for new members that come along, there will be a price increase once I hit 100. So I've just hit 78 as of today, which is great. Great little community. There's a chat in there where I'm posting regularly. They've just launched a new kind of Instagram feature, which is called a Quip, where I can just post quick content. And again, the deeper dive stuff, I'm posting much more regularly about stocks that I'm holding, what I'm thinking about. And many of the members are reaching out to ask questions about which brokerage I use and how I transfer money, and I'm answering all of those. If you're interested in any of that, then feel free to check out the Patreon. The link is in the description to this. And thank you to everybody who's joined so far. 78 people on board is phenomenal. So I'm super grateful. Right. Hey, Stephen, how you doing? Nice to see you. Why American market and not UK? I just like the stocks that I'm interested in are American companies. So I just don't really invest in British companies. So that's typically why I'm interested in the US market more than anything. The companies I'm invested in, SoFi, for example, I guess the kind of British equivalent to that would be like Revolut. But SoFi has been a company I've been involved in for the last 2020. I think I bought my first SoFi when it was a SPAC. Before it became SoFi, it was called IPOE, and I bought it then when I kind of started to find out about it. And most of the other companies I've invested in, Spire is a rocket and satellite organization. Rocket Lab is the same, and I've followed them since they were both of them were SPACs. Right, so I haven't made a video in a few days, and I wanted to kind of explain a little bit as to why. The last video that I posted, right, I told 5 stories, told 5 tales about house sitting and being told to F off with the dog, which is just bit of humour in that, bit of it made me think about being Glaswegian and from Glasgow, kind of thing you would hear all the time there. I told a story about that, but I also talked a little bit about missing dates, dates that come along that I kind of forget about. And actually, when I posted that video that same day, which I think was last Friday, I'm on to check what's going on in the stock market. I hadn't even realised it was Good Friday and that it was actually Easter weekend. I hadn't been paying attention at all. And so, in posting a video about forgetting dates, I also forgot that it was Easter weekend. It just wasn't in my mindset. I wasn't thinking about it, and kind of talked a little bit about how that's weird. And I got some great commentary back from people that were talking about being retired or out of a job and kind of, acknowledging that that's something that they go through. Now, that led me into the weekend, and there were dates then that I didn't forget about. At the weekend was my auntie's birthday, my auntie Irene's birthday. That's my dad's big sister, and it's her birthday. So Yvonne and I had arranged for a gift to get sent. We organised that here to go to her house, just a little minding to say, we're thinking about you. And she got that over the weekend, sent us a little note just to say thanks. And we left her, we contacted her and spoke, sent a voicemail and chatted and stuff. So I did all of that. And then I kind of thought about making a video over the weekend. And I knew that I wanted to make this 90-day roundup video. And I knew it was going to take a bit of time and a bit of effort. And then on Tuesday, right, so my auntie, my dad's big sister, it's her birthday on Saturday. And then on Tuesday, right, yesterday for you in the UK, 2 days ago now for me here in Kuala Lumpur, that was actually my dad's birthday. That was my dad's 79th birthday on Tuesday. And this time it felt a bit different. This would have been the second birthday since my dad passed away. And that has obviously been a big motivational factor of me deciding to leave the UK. It was one big narrative between losing jobs, health, and everything else, right? So I just took a couple of days off of making videos to kind of live with that a little bit for a change, because last year, for those that have followed this channel since the beginning, right? Last year, last April, my dad's got somebody in the chat tell me what is it when a number is the same forward as it is backwards. My dad's birthday was the 7th of April, 47. So he loved the fact that the numbers were the same forward as they are backwards. What do you call that again? It's got a name. Anyway, so the 7th of April, 1947 is my dad's birthday. And so that would have been him 79 on Tuesday. Now, last year, I had obviously started the channel in January, and then Yvonne and I went to Lanzarote, and many people speculated when we were leaving the country that we might have been going to live in Spain because we did Lanzarote, and then obviously we came to Malaysia, and that was a bit of a difference. A paradrome. Thank you, Victoria. I knew somebody would know this. I knew somebody out there. So yeah, Tuesday was my dad's birthday, so I just took a couple of days to kind of think a little bit about that and pause for a little second. Palindrome. So took a little bit of time to think about that. And I was thinking about last year, and like it felt like such a whirlwind, right? Because that was my dad's first birthday being away. And I was in the midst of this, like my head was all over the place about, I want to leave the UK, I want to change our lives up. Started this channel, and I'm out of work. I'd kind of gone through gardening leave and finished that at the end of February. So that all felt like a blur last year. This year felt like a much calmer experience to just have a day of thinking, remembrance, appreciating everything that my dad kind of helped me get to. And I posted on the Patreon a little bit of a deeper thought on there the day before, actually, wondering what my dad would make of all of this. Because in my whole life, right, of growing up, my dad was always like, always have a job, son, never go out of a job, always, you know, if you're moving to another job, make sure you've got that set up before you quit a job. It was very like would be on me, right? Would be on like on my case, but in a parental caring way, right? Always keeping you motivated to keep a job. And now I've been out of a job for, you know, a year and months now, right? And that's been a kind of weird experience. And then trying to set this channel up and building Patreon and a newsletter list and earning from stocks and shares that I've kind of learned. And tomorrow, when I post this 90-day video, I'm going to show you what January, February, and March has looked like, what we've spent, hotel, insurance, eating out, travel, all of the destiny. Like we've gone to Thailand in that time, what the expenditure was like for those 90 days, and then what I've earned. And then at the end of all of that, a cost comparison with what our lives would have been like in the UK for a 3-month period, just to kind of bring that all together. But I was thinking on Tuesday, I wonder what my dad would make of all of this. I wonder if in some way he would be like, oh, good on you. You've kind of turned this into something else. And this was all swirling in my head because I was thinking about the experience of never being out of a job. And now suddenly I'm kind of in this, you know, classing myself as retired light where, all right, I make YouTube videos. I love doing this. There's also a phrase where it's like, if you love what you do or if you turn a hobby into a job, what is it? If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, or if you can earn from a hobby, something like that. Somebody will tell me. So I'm doing this, right? And obviously, this is like I'm self-employed now. I'm about to do my self-assessment for the year and declare my earnings from YouTube and everything else. So I'm kind of in this weird world of like, I don't have a job because, I mean, if you saw me today, I sat at the pool most of the day, which is why my face is pink. And I've been in the gym, and then I've had a bit of lunch with Yvonne, and then I've maybe spent about an hour making tomorrow's video. That doesn't feel like a job. So it's a kind of weird head space to be in, but I was curious. I would love to know what my dad thought of all of this, and I'll never know. And that was the part that was sitting with me on Tuesday, is that you'll never get to know that. So you've got to just keep putting your best foot forward in all of this. Oh, hello. I've got a cat here because I'm on another house sit with Yvonne. We've got 2 little cats to look after, and they are the nicest cats that we could possibly house sit for. Pirate and Bandit, and they're floating around just now. I've got my leg here, so that's what I'm looking at. So yeah, that was in my head on Tuesday. And I'll tell you what was funny of all of that, right, is that I had a call last week with my old boss, my boss who saw me through the redundancy phase of the past company. And he's now also been made redundant by the same company. Isn't it weird how that always happens, right? You get tasked with performing the duties, and then all of a sudden it turns into being you as well. So we had a call. The reason we had the call was that we never really left on bad terms. I would openly say that I loved working with my last boss. He was one of a few that I keep in high regard, and it wasn't his responsibility to make me redundant. He was just in charge of the process, and the process sucked. And now he's had to go through the same process, and it sucked for him also. But we had a little bit of a call just to kind of catch up with each other. And he was asking me, like, what's going on? And I was telling him, oh, I'm out here in Malaysia and everything else. And he was like, wow, when are you going back to the UK? And I'm like, I'm not making any plans to go back to the UK. But it was nice to just have a conversation with somebody and kind of make sure that we both weren't pissed off about things that had happened. And fortunately, we were both in agreement that, yeah, that was a very difficult time. He didn't enjoy having to go through that, me and other people that left, and then obviously happening to him as well. But we both had a chuckle about the company and what's going on with it all. So I was kind of thinking about that because, again, I was bringing all the thoughts of the job that I'd gone out of back into my head, and then again tying that into what would my dad say about all of this. And like I say, you'll never know. But I know people have reached out to me through this channel who have lost people, and they always say it gets better, right? And I would definitely feel like it's felt a very different year this year for me than it did last year when it was so raw. And now I talk about these things. I would have got upset about this if I'd been talking about this 6 months ago. But now I just have a different feeling and energy about it all, as I sit more calmly and reflect on these kind of things. Now, let me tell you this, right? Again, it ties into my dad's birthday and why that date was important. And that was, I'm still in a dispute with British Gas about my dad's energy bill from his house that was sold last September. I had a dispute with Scottish Power and then it got resolved and they paid me compensation. And I had the same issues with British Gas and that's raged on and it's still going now. I've actually filed a complaint with the British Energy Ombudsman, and the Ombudsman then wrote to me and said, "We've reviewed the evidence that you've submitted and we're accepting your case, and we've contacted British Gas to resolve this." And they said in the message they've got 10 working days to respond. And Stephen, thank you so much for becoming a supporter plus, mate. I really appreciate that. Thanks for joining. So they said to me they've got 10 working days to respond. And when I did a little check, the 10 working days actually was up on the 7th of April, my dad's birthday. Serendipity and all of the alignment, right? So I forget dates. I can't remember things that are going on, but I remember my dad's birthday, my dad's older sister's birthday beforehand. The energy complaint, which then closes on the same day as my dad's birthday, is like, it feels like there's something in that. Maybe that's just me being superstitious. But I'm sitting on Tuesday, right? And I'm like, well, I'm going to get a response from British Gas because they've kind of got to respond, right? And no response comes. And then I realize it's 10 working days. And I've once again forgot that Friday and Monday are holidays in the UK. So those are not working days. So actually, I think it's going to be tomorrow. Technically, for you in the UK, Thursday the 9th will now be the finish date. It's Thursday the 9th now for me because I'm in the future versus you. So I'm looking at that date and I'm like, well, that's going to get resolved, right? That's one extra thing that's going to be hanging over me is this British Gas complaint. Now, I'll say this, right? Before I got to the energy ombudsman of all of this, British Gas were actually sending me emails to communicate about what was happening. And in one of the emails, two members of staff are discussing that they should just pay me off to make me go away. Like they're acknowledging that this complaint it's got grounds to it based on what I've fed back to them. And they're talking to each other, but they've included me in the communication. And now I've showed this to the energy ombudsman along with multiple other documents, the bills and all of the emails and the chat logs and everything else. And the energy ombudsman's reviewed it and said, yep, we accept this case. So tomorrow for you, today for me, I'm hoping that chapter is going to come to an end and that will be one more thing. But that date just popped up in my head and I thought, oh, well, there you go. Like, that's just another one of those, like, something just aligns out of all of this, right? So I thought I'd share that with you. So that was the kind of big date, right? I said at the start of this podcast show live stream, talk a little bit about the markets recovering, and then I would talk a little bit about the big dates. Now, let me flick through here a little bit, and I'll tell you a couple other things that's going on in all of this, right? Let me just see. So Yvonne and I, we are trying to reduce down our travel arrangements. And we've had two suitcases this whole time. So two backpacks and two suitcases. And we were looking through the clothes that we've got at this point. And I said to Yvonne, like, I'm going to get rid of the rucksack that I've got, the laptop bag, and I'm going to change that. And instead, I'm going to buy a new bag from a shop, a mall in TRX mall in Malaysia. I'm going to buy a new bag that I can get my clothes in, and then I'm going to throw a few bits away and see if we can get down to one suitcase, which feels like a goal, right? I see when I think about all the stuff that we brought with us, pairs of jeans, trousers, shirts, everything, it's all gone. I have maybe 7 t-shirts. I've got 1 pair of trousers. I've got 2 pairs of shorts, 3 pairs of shorts, and a couple of vest tops, and that's it. I even, for those that have been watching these videos religiously, Victoria House, I'm looking at you. Marina, I'm looking at you. I even went to a shop in a mall months ago and bought 3 t-shirts, and I've thrown 2 of them away a couple of days ago. I haven't even worn them because I just don't need them. So we've got down to 1 suitcase, and we packed up a couple of days ago and we left the apartment we were staying in. We just did a 9-day stay in Empire City, back to a location we've stayed in already, the Mozas building. I've loved it there. So we went back to stay in there again. And we stayed there for 9 days. It was £110 for the 9 days. And what's that, 12 quid a day? And I was just in the gym every day. So I've packed it all down now into 1 suitcase and 2 backpacks for Yvonne and I, because we're about to leave Malaysia next week. And Julie, to answer your question, no, it's not super cheap. See, every person that says, see your cost of living in Malaysia, it would be half of that in Vietnam. I call BS on that, because we've spent weeks trying to book an apartment in Vietnam and it is way more expensive now. It's Easter peak season for Vietnam, lots going from Australia. Flights have gone up significantly, whereas a flight before for the 2 of us was about £100. It's now more like £300. Add 2 bags on, it's £400. And we looked at apartments, everything was booked up. And what we could get a hold of was either so far, we were looking at Da Nang, everything was so far away from the waterfront, the beach, that we were like, not sure. And an apartment was coming in, I would say about £800 for 1 month, not cheaper than Malaysia. This whole theory of Vietnam's super cheap, I'm sure it is at times, but right now, with everything that's gone on in Dubai, with everything that's kind of gone on with the Iran situation and fuel and everything else, it's not cheap. The costs have risen. So we're going somewhere else. And I won't share that with you yet until next week, until we get there. But we've decided to just do something else. And one of the fun parts about all of this is we were sitting and we were like, shall we go to Thailand? Shall we go to Singapore? Shall we go to Vietnam? Well, we can do whatever. And we just decided whatever. We rolled the dice and we're doing something different. So we've got a month booked out of Malaysia. And then we're going to return and stay in a completely different part of Malaysia when we come back for something a little bit new for us, a bit of a new adventure. So we've got all that going on. So I'm looking forward to that. So we go into the mall, right, to buy this new bag. And I'm about to go to the shop. We've been there on Saturday and looked at the stores, find a bag, and I'm like, I'm not quite sure. I want to, like typical me, right? I want to go back and research the bag. I want to read reviews on it. There's a website that I use that kind of scores like travel bags, and I'm like, I want to check it out before I spend this money, because it was coming out at like £80 for this bag in this travel shop. I'm like to Yvonne, I get nervous spending that kind of money now, right? I'm like, so we leave, and then we decide we'll go back to the mall on Monday. So we walk into the mall, taxi drops us off. We head downstairs. Hey, Crag, how you doing? Nice to see you. I hope you're well. Let me know in the comments how things are going. So we go back into the mall. We walk into the mall, and we're on our way to the shop. which is on the lower ground floor. And a man and woman stop us in the mall and they're like, oh, the guy's like, oh, I love your videos. And we're standing for a minute or two, and their names are, his name's Neil. And we're chatting with Neil, and we're like, Neil and Anna, we're like, do you want to get a coffee? And they're like, yeah, that would be great. So we go and have a coffee with Neil and Anna. Neil's from England and Anna's from Germany. So we're chatting to them. So we go and have a coffee, which turns into like a 2 hour sit and chat. We're talking about life and channels and everything else. And Neil's telling me he used to be in like TV, he used to work at the BBC and all that kind of stuff, and has been a traveller himself. Both of them being travellers. But he's been self-employed. And again, we're talking about this conversation. I'm sharing my story about being always employed and never having this experience of not having a job, and the weird feeling that it brings when money's not guaranteed every single month. And he's telling me about the other side of that, and kind of having this experience of always looking for different jobs and starting at places and what it was like to get laid off. So we sit in the mall for 2 hours, 3 hours, I don't know. It was a good while. It was great. Really enjoyed it. And then we part ways. We exchange phone numbers, part ways. Yvonne and I go and buy the bag. And then we get back to the apartment. We get sorted out, and we left on Tuesday. So Tuesday of this week, we left, and we've came now to this house sit that we're in. We're here for a few days. And then we need to check out. We leave on Friday. The owner comes back. And we leave on Friday. And then what's happening is we're moving into apartment for a day or two, and we're going to have dinner with Neil and Anna on Saturday night in Kuala Lumpur, which is going to be cool. So dinner with a viewer, but very quickly just seemed like cool people, a good couple, and somebody we could sit and chat with. So we're going to meet up with them on Saturday night. And then on Monday of next week, we leave the country. That's the plan. And yes, I'm not telling you where we're going just yet out of all of those choices, because it will be a surprise when we get around to making videos. And sometimes surprises are good, right? So we'll see what happens with all of that. Now, here's another thing, right, that I just wasn't kind of expecting. I'm 48 years old. I've never had an eye test since school. Never had one. From what I remember, I do have color blindness issues. My dad was colorblind. It's only like when it's mixed colors. I couldn't be in the army. I couldn't fly a plane. Don't have all that going on. But Yvonne wears glasses, and she was saying, "Oh, I need to get a prescription. I need to get my eyes checked." She's kind of struggling with things. She's long-sighted. So she's watching the telly in the room and squinting and all that. And we're like, we should get your eyes tested. So we went into the mall that's next to the apartment on Sunday, I think we went in. And I said to the woman, could I have my eyes tested? How much does it cost? And she was like, I'll do it for you for free. We'll just do it now. So I sit down in this like box thing like this, put my chin on it, and they put the thing in and I look inside. And she writes me out a little note to tell me that I am short-sighted and that I've got is it an astigma? I can't remember what that word is. Wait a minute, did I jot it down? Is it an astigmatism? An astigmatism? Is that right? Am I saying that right? So I need glasses. And see, I was asking her, like, well, I mean, I feel like I can read things. And then they gave me a little set to try on, and I was like, oh. And she said, you've probably had this your entire life, and your brain's just been overcompensating and kind of working it out. And now you've just discovered it. And I'm like, God, that's nuts, right? You kind of just deal with things. You don't really think these things are problems. And then all of a sudden, I've kind of got this going on. And I'm like, so now I need to get glasses, right? And of course, I struggled to buy the bag. I bought the bag, but I struggled to buy the bag. And now I'm like, now I need glasses. Now they are way cheaper here, right, for a prescription. Yvonne gets her contact lenses here. They're a bit cheaper than they are in the UK. And I know I should just buy them, but I can't bring myself to do it. Astigmatism. Thank you. Thanks, PT18. So yeah, I've got this going on. And it's funny because tonight I'm sitting watching the telly with Yvonne, right? And as the day goes on, now I've spent my whole life on computers, right? Either in a job or making content or making music was done on laptops or computers, screens, everything else. So my brain's just been overcompensating. And now, yes, exactly. Thanks, Marina. Yeah, so my pupil is oval and not round. So my brain's been kind of doing this overcompensating. But see, when they gave me the glasses and I put them on, if you kind of feel a little bit drunk at the time, and then the woman was like, "Oh, do you want us to make it up?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'll just wait just now. Like, what have I got to think about? This is my health. This is my vision. I'm getting tired and not being able to see stuff." Hey, Mark, how you doing? Nice to see you, mate. Thanks for joining us. So now I'm like, do you know when you go through this, like, this is an age thing, right? But I've got the gammy ankle going on, right? I had the whole heat thing going on, and then I buy the insole, and I'm telling people about that last week on that video last Friday, and people are saying, "Oh, that sounds great." Now, see the heel thing, it's immediately just became a million times better. My trainers are so comfortable to walk in now. I can just feel pressure points at different parts of my foot that I couldn't feel before. So that's just, I've ticked that off. They were like £40. Then I bought flip flops, like new sandals that have the heel in them. And I threw away the barefoot shoes. So that was another 40 quid. And then I've had to buy this bag. That was another 80 quid, £85. And now I've got to get glasses. And I'm like, I'm just hemorrhaging money left, right, and centre. And we're trying to book, are we going to go to Vietnam? And I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, God, this is expensive. It's nomad living. Yeah, it's called aging. You're absolutely right. The original D-Rod. Hello, mate. How you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Denmark. I do love Denmark. My hometown, East Kilbride, is paired with Brøndby in Denmark, and I have been many times. Played football before a Brøndby European match many years ago when I was about 16 years old. Played against Brøndby's under 16 team and my team from the UK, and it was an experience I'll never forget. We won, I'm afraid to tell you, but I do love Denmark. Been many times, many times. Yeah, so it's aging. Chris, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you. Finally managed to make a live show, but cheaper than the concert tickets. I know it's funny how you prioritize these things, right? The concert tickets, I'm like, wow, it's an experience. Flip flops, they'll last months, if not years, but I'm struggling to bring myself to do it. So we're on this another house set, little apartment, two-bedroom apartment, two bedroom, two bathroom. Woman who is a school teacher. She's gone away to an event. So we've taken over the house for a few days and we're watching these two lovely cats, very different cats from the cats in the previous house. And the woman who we're house sitting for also does a lot of house sitting. She's a Kiwi, but goes to the UK, does a lot of house sitting when she travels, uses it as a way to cut down on costs. And for us, it's been quite a nice, pleasant experience. Like the connection with animals. I never had a dog or a cat growing up. My dad was always like, "Oh, it was only the two of us, right?" And he was working all the time, and so he was like, "Oh, it's a dog. I'll be left with the responsibility." But Yvonne grew up with a dog, and has always said to me, "Can we get a dog?" And we never did it. And now that we've come away, right, this was an idea out of all of this was like, see if we could do a house sit, and we're looking after a dog or a cat or whatever, and you get a bit of like cost reduction for a month or whatever comes along. It's quite an interesting way to kind of live a little bit. And I mean, if you'd asked me a year ago when I was thinking about budgets for, well, it'd be more than a year now, but I'm in that last job, right, managing sales targets and budgets. John, see in a year and a half's time, you won't have a job. You'll be in another country and you'll be looking after a dog. I would have been like, what? But actually, in doing it, it's been quite fulfilling. The pets, the 2 cats that we're looking after are just the cutest things ever. They're just incredibly friendly, love being tickled and stroked and coming up and sitting with you. The previous house sits cats, they were female. These 2 cats are males. Don't know if there's anything in that. Anybody that's got cats can maybe tell me. These 2 dudes are super friendly, chilled. One's here and the other one's just over there, and they're just chilling, watching me like, "What's this guy doing?" But the previous house, the 2 female cats, they were a little bit more testy. They were like, "Tickle me," but then stop that within about 2 seconds. But the dog was amazing. Loved looking after the dog, and hopefully we'll do that again. But this has just been a nice little something else to kind of add to your repertoire, right? Of like saying, "Well, I've experienced this," and it's felt enjoyable. I would recommend this. The couple that we met in the mall, Neil and Anna, we were saying to them, "This is what we do," and they were like, "Oh, we might have a look into that." And also, Richard's channel from Britain to Beyond, him and his wife, they've got 2 kids, and actually the house sit that we were just in, um, are happy to have families. So for people that have got kids, many households, they advertise happy if it's a couple or it's a single person or a family. And there are so many opportunities. So yeah, it's been a nice little change of vibes. And one of the reasons why we did it was Yvonne, dog, opportunity to spend some time with a dog again. For me, the walks, see, getting outside, the motivation to get out and do the walk. I would never get up at like 7 o'clock in the morning at this point, but see, walking through Kuala Lumpur City at 7 o'clock in the morning. On the Sunday before we left, there was a marathon on, and it was great to just sit with me and the dog and Yvonne were just sitting, coffee, watching the marathon go by. It was very calming, and animals bring a different level to you. I think feel like they just bring another stillness to you that's nice to kind of open up to, and especially after what the last while has been like. Let me just have a little look through here. Marina, my male cat is loving female cats. Yeah. Well, the 2 in that household, one of them was super like the boss of the house. The dog was always kind of giving me eyes like, yeah, you need to keep an eye on her. And that was very true. These two have been together since birth. The owner that's got the 2 of them, and yeah, the cats were the 2 females were pretty moody. Um, Victoria, I was speaking to a 20-year-old today about events, pub job 20 years ago. Yeah. Craig, let me have a little look here. Things are okay. Okay. Yeah. I wish you the absolute best, mate. I know you've dropped me a few messages and stuff, and I know you were traveling. You were about to head out was it to America with your family for some treatment. So how's that side of it going? Let me have a little look through what else I've got going on. Yeah, so glasses. Right, here's something else that I did during the week that I wasn't kind of expecting to do. I built myself a website. I have a newsletter, a weekly newsletter, like a kind of Friday travel newsletter that I send out. I've got just over 300 people, and the open rates and the read rate is phenomenal. It's about 60% of the emails that go out get read. So I'm obviously creating something that people are enjoying and reading. But the landing page of it was with the company who I've got the email subscription from, and I wanted to do something myself. And so I built a landing page and I built a little booking page. I do one-to-one calls, and normally people have to email me and go through various questions. And so I thought, well, let me try and put this together. So in a bit of spare time, just again sitting with my laptop, keeping my brain busy as I like to do, I built a little landing page. So you can go to johntalksabout.com. And if you haven't registered for the newsletter before, you can do that there. And there's also, if you're interested in one-to-ones, there's a booking page on there that you can do that. So that I built that, and I was pretty chuffed with myself because I did sales, right? I talk for a living. I'm not like techie when it comes to these kind of things. And so I kind of just used the available tools that are out there now to put these things together. It took me about a day to create 4 pages in total with some content on it, and I made that, and I was pretty chuffed with it. So, and listen, to people in the comments just now that are wishing Craig the best, that's very kind of you all. All of us sending Craig these, all of our positivity at this point as he goes through this difficult period. Keep us posted, Craig. Again, feel free to drop me an email. It's just john@johntalksabout.com. Anybody that wants to drop me a comms at any point, feel free to do so. So we checked out of the apartment on Monday, right? And this is the bit that you don't really see in the travel stuff, right? It's always the kind of, here's us at the pool. Well, I just mean travel blogs as a general. I don't really consider myself as a travel vlog. I'm trying to create like a how to change your life up style channel is really how much all of this costs to encourage you that if you're thinking about leaving the UK, what your expenditure might look like and how to make this work. We check out, and it's like all places, right? It's an 11 o'clock checkout, and we're coming to this apartment, and the owner said to us, could you maybe come for about 5 o'clock? So you've always got that window in between, right? You've got your luggage and all that. So now we've just got the one bag, my rucksack, Yvonne's rucksack, and we go and sit in a little coffee shop, and we're having a bite to eat, having a coffee. I'm not drinking coffee just now. It's irritating my belly. My stomach, it's giving me a sore stomach. So I'm drinking tea, and it's not something I would normally bother with, but I've got the taste now for a green tea or a lemon and ginger tea. And there's a little coffee place nearby us that did a lemon and honey tea. So I'm sitting having a lemon and honey tea. And Yvonne says, I'll nip to the shops and I'll get some shopping in. And I'll leave you here. I'm on my laptop working away, doing a few emails and things. And Yvonne comes back and she's all like big smiles, right? Looking pleased as punch with herself. And I'm like, what's going on with you? She's like, you'll not believe what happened in the supermarket. And I'm like, what? This is the village supermarket that I've made a video about. She says, a little girl come running up to her in the supermarket and said, are you Yvonne? Me and my mum watch your videos. So Yvonne gets spotted in the village grocer by a little girl who comes up to say hello, to tell us that her and her mum watched the videos. I'm like, so Yvonne's all like, oh, because after we had just met Neil and Anna, we've met up with some other people from various blogs, various videos over the last few weeks. Yvonne meets this little girl who's a viewer, and Yvonne's all like, hey. So that was giving us the two of us a little bit of a chuckle. None of that's happened before, and then it happens that's like 3 times on the bounce. We had Brian after I'd met Hans, and we had Neil and Anna. Now this little girl has come up and said hello. A guy passed us in the mall and just gave me a fist bump. Was like, "Watch your videos." Blows my mind that stuff happens. Blows my mind that stuff happens. We went technology shopping back to the Low Yat Mall. Trying to get a plug socket, trying to get some cables, or a cable that I needed. A charger for my phone was broken. We went there on Saturday for a little look around. That place is so intimidating, and it's so tempting to want to spend money. Like my iPhone has got a little bit of a wobbly connection at the bottom of it. I thought it was the cable. Actually, it isn't the cable, it's the phone. And that starts to make me a bit paranoid because of how much I do on my phone, shooting videos, managing stocks and shares, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at new phones in there, right? And I'm like, oh, I'd love the temptation to just buy a new phone. But I'm like, I can't do it. I just absolutely cannot spend that kind of money. So I'm just going to kick around with a dodgy connection on the bottom of my iPhone for now. Luckily, this one is, you can do that whole contactless or whatever you call it charging. So I'll maybe do that. No, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. Never late, mate. Always on time. So we'll see how that goes. And Chris, ginger tea for heartburn is great. I do, I'm kind of enjoying a little ginger and lemon, or the lemon and honey's quite nice. All of that. I've been eating so well, diet's dialed in, lost a bit of weight, feeling good. But I mentioned I've dropped a little bit of weight, and I was having some, like, around the gallbladder area. I probably need to get a scan, but I'm terrified to go back to the hospital. I think I'm getting a bit of irritation now. I have read that you can get a gallstone when you've dropped quite a bit of weight, and I've lost over a stone in weight. But I also read that it can happen when you've been on quite strong antibiotics, and obviously with going through the whole sepsis situation, that's also kind of in my mind. But when we're back here in Malaysia later in the year, I need to go for another scan on my kidney. The doctor asked me to come back, so I'll need to get that done, and then it's an ultrasound. So I need a CT scan, and then I'll need an ultrasound to see what's going on. But I'm a bit of a big feary just now when it comes to hospitals. I've kind of had my fill of them. Speaking of hospitals, you will not believe what just happened in the last day or so. I got a text message again. For the people that have been following this from the beginning, you know what's been going on, right? But look at this. You might be able to see that. Can you see that? That's Northampton Hospital sending me an appointment for me to get treated for the kidney stone that ended me up in hospital here. I went to Northampton Hospital in November of 2024. November of 2024 for treatment. And this is me just getting the appointment, and this is what it says. This is an important message from Northampton General Hospital. Your appointment with the urology department is on the 13th of April at 9:10 and will be conducted as a telephone consultation. A telephone consultation. They can't even give me a real appointment with a real doctor in person. A telephone consultation. Whoa. See, to all the people that kept saying to me, well, see, now you've left. Won't be that when you need the NHS. I'm like, I don't think so. That's incredible. Anyway, just in case you're wondering, I've cancelled it and I've discharged myself. I've wrote back to them and said, discharge me on this. But I can't believe that. I've waited since November 2024. It's now 2026 in April, and the best they can give me is a telephone consultation. And my pal Jenny, who's normally in here, might be in here. She was in the hospital at the weekend for an issue, and they were doing tests, and they did the wrong test, and then they sent her home, and then they asked her to come back, and then they sent her home. She was in the hospital for hours at the weekend trying to just get the basics done, and I was just like, God almighty, what is going on? Such ridiculousness. I'm putting that one on the screen. You're absolutely right, Victoria. That is exactly what I think of them. So that's me, just got my appointment, came in. That's absolutely wild. Blew my mind when I saw that in. Well, let me see what else I've got going on here. Let me think about. Yeah, so Yvonne was spotted in the mall. Told you about building the website. Need glasses. Let me see what else is happening. Now, I'll tell you this, right? I've got to be very careful how I explain this to you, right? Deirdre, how you doing? Nice to see you, mate. Thanks for joining us. The insurance situation. Here's a very little tiny bit of detail that I can share with you. For those that know, I'm in a dispute with the insurance company about my claim, my £13,000 claim, to which they've paid £5,000 out. I had to separate the insurance claim into 3 claims. The first claim going into the hospital emergency, having renal failure, having to have emergency surgery. The second time I had to go in 2 weeks later, and then have the stent removed, the stone dealt with, and another stent fitted, and then sepsis. And the insurance company, after three rejections, overturned the decision and admitted that under the terms and conditions, episode 1 and episode 3 would be paid out. On episode 2, which was me having to wait 2 weeks to go back into hospital to have the surgery to remove the bit of plastic, the insurance company declined or denied the claim and said that I had pre-elected to have that surgery. Now, the urologist said and physically wrote down for me that that's nonsense, that the body has to have 2 weeks recovery before they can do the second part of the surgery. I had to have time to let my body heal. And I also found a study by the European Urology Association that confirmed that if you have a stent fitted and then you're going to have the stone lasered, you have to have a number of, it recommended somewhere between 10 and 14 days recovery. That's exactly what happened. Now, that's what it's been rejected on. So we're in a dispute over this. Now, here's a little bit of info for you, right? Tell you this. I've now had to challenge this. And I've had to go into arbitration. Now, see, when I made the complaint, right, I had to get the terms and conditions, from the insurance company. And in it, they said, if we ever reach a stalemate, you can go to arbitration. And they named the company that I would use for arbitration. It was stated in their terms and conditions. So when I then said, well, we're at a stalemate, I'm going to take this to arbitration, they said to me in writing, we recommend another arbitrator to you. And I was like, why? And they said, well, they'll probably be able to handle your case quicker. And I said, well, why are you not recommending the company who actually are named in the policy? Oh, no, you can do that if you want. We're just saying you can use this other company. And I said, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to carry on with the one that's named in your terms and conditions. And so I went to that company that was named in the terms and conditions and I submitted the case. Now, I had to pay for it, right? It cost money to do it, to file the case. And then once I filed it, I got documentation from the arbitration company that said that I was responsible for serving the insurance company the papers on it. And I did that. And they acknowledged and wrote back to me and said, we accept that you've filed this with us. We'll now wait to hear from the arbitrator. Now, the arbitration company told me that it would take 14 days to analyze the case, and then they would decide whether they could move forward with it or not. That was a month ago. Right? So, tail end of last week, I wrote to the arbitration company when the month was up, and I said, hey, I've filed this case. Could you tell me, have you received it? Where is it in the pipeline here? Give me a bit of a understanding, and are you going to take the case on? On Saturday morning, I got an email from them and it had a bill attached to it. And I was like, oh God, why do these things always lead to more money? Like they tell you it's going to cost so much, and then suddenly a bill comes in for even more money. And I'm like, oh, I just don't need this, right? Anyway, I start reading it and I realize the bill isn't for me. The bill's for the insurance company. So I've paid my portion to file the case and the arbitration company has reviewed it. Now, here is the bit that I want to share with you, right? In the documentation from the arbitration company, it says to the insurer that the insurer uses terminology for the consumer, me, I'm the consumer, that states that they are the selected arbitrator. But the insurance company has never spoken to the arbitrator before and has never shared their terms and conditions before. And the arbitrator is saying, this is highly unusual because normally when an insurance company is selecting an arbitrator to be in their terms and conditions, they submit their terms and conditions and the arbitrator reviews and says, yep, that's fine, go ahead. And then they get to use that arbitrator's name, company details. And in the documentation that they've shared with me and with the company's never done this. So that leads me to believe that I am the first person ever to take this insurance company, a globally recognized insurance company, all the way to arbitration. And the arbitrator has said in writing that it fundamentally disagrees with something that's in the terms and conditions from the insurer, and that in order for this case to proceed, the insurer has to agree to drop that out of the terms and conditions to review this case. And that the insurance company has until the 4th of May to review this and agree. So I was telling you earlier on at the beginning of all of this about dates, my dad's birthday, British Gas, falling on the same day, all of that, right? And me feeling like that's serendipitous. And now the biggest part of what's been difficult about all of this life in the last months and the battles that I've gone through with the insurance company will come down to the date of the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Bloody Star Wars references, right? So, and here's what's going to happen, right? The insurance company either comes back and says, yes, we agree to drop this part of the process, the terms and conditions, carry on and evaluate the case. Or if they say, no, we're not willing to drop that part of it, my case ends and I lose. That's where I'm at with all of this. So on the 4th of May, I'll know exactly whether it will move forward. And if it moves forward, the battle will continue. And I'll then be fighting the case on pre-elective surgery versus medically required time break of 2 weeks to let my body physically recover before a second surgery could be carried out, as written by the urologist who conducted the surgery, and also in the case study of the European Association of Urology or European Urology Association or whatever that I managed to find online. That's what's in my documentation. But as it stands right now, as I've just filed the case right now, the arbitrator is saying to the insurance company publicly in front of me, I've seen this information, I've got it in black and white, that the arbitrator is saying, this is not right, what you've got in these terms and conditions, and you've never shared this with us before. And this insurance company has been going for a while. They're not like the new kids on the block. Isn't that wild? If I was the insurance company, I would be making me go away with an NDA quietly to not say any more about this. But I can't wait to make this video. I can't wait to be able to say, this is the insurance company. This is what happened. This is the timeline of events. This is how they treated me. And now this part of it, which is, and I'm using their own terms and conditions in the argumentation. And it kind of makes sense now, right? So if, as I've just explained this to you, the company, the insurance company, at the very last minute said to me, we suggest you use a different arbitrator. And I was like, why? This one here is in your terms and conditions. You're naming an unknown party. Why would I use the unknown party? And they were like, well, we just think it might be quicker to get you a decision. And I'm like, I don't need quick. I just need it done right. And I chose not to do that. And I got them to write in writing to me that I was still allowed to go with the original company. And I've shared that with the original company, the original arbitrator, to say they were trying to get me to go with a different arbitrator, even though you're the ones named in the terms and conditions. So if this was coming down to like reputation in all of this, it's not looking good in terms of how they've handled it. But that's as much as I can tell you in all of that. For now, that's as much as I can tell you. Right, that's just over an hour, and that's a whole bunch of info that I've given you on all of that. Is there any questions? Is there any things that are flying up that anybody wants to ask just now as a kind of open-ended part of this section? Hopefully this connection's okay. It just flashed up a little message there. If anybody's got anything that you want to ask just now, that insurance company will be the one to avoid. Yes, I would 100% will state the name of the company. And honestly, like, I'm not making a video to be like dramatic about it. I will just share the timeline of how it was handled. And I think that will be enough. I think that will be enough to show you what it was like to go through all of this. PY18, hey John, are you planning on doing any videos with Jill and Justin? I emailed them and we've communicated through comms. And if we're in the same area, we've absolutely agreed that we would catch up and have coffee. I love their videos. They're really good. They're very they're so professional with their delivery and their dialogue. And they're so good. They're very polished. I really like their videos, really well put together. And the packaging, like, their thumbnails and stuff are great. Very, I can see why they've got big views. They're doing really well. So I emailed them to chat to them, and Justin messaged back and was chatting. In fact, I need to email him back as well. I saw he had messaged me. Can you can you start from the beginning, please? Yeah, replay, replay. No. Let me see what else is going on. Chris, what have we got here? And they will not pay. They basically they don't want to pay. You know, these companies, they don't want to pay. Unbelievable the way that it's been handled so far. Michael, insurance companies are trying to rip you off. Yep, they are, and that's how it feels. That's definitely how it feels. It's been a challenging few months. Just a few things kind of hanging over you. You know, you never quite feel like you never quite feel mentally free of all of that, like a part of your brain. Like little things start to edge away, but you never feel totally mentally free of it all. So we'll see. Victoria, every advert break on holiday companies insurance. Yeah, for sure. So in tomorrow's video, 90-day recap of our expenditure, my income, and a comparison versus the cost of living. Couple of days off of making videos, so I'll get that done. Nick G, getting you through your gym session. Good on you, mate. I'm glad to hear somebody's in the gym working out. I have loved going to the gym recently. We've just spent 9 days in that last apartment, and I worked out every single day. We're in this apartment. I was down there today. I'll tell you what I did. Like I mention this all the time. I'm 48, right? I haven't played five-a-sides or done football or any of that stuff in years and years. And I've been off my bike for a number of years just with what turned out to be the kidney stone. Do you know what I did today? I came out of the gym. I had a swim. And there's tennis courts and a basketball court, and I just ran round the basketball court. I did about a kilometre in the sunshine, which is, look at my face. Look at my face. I look like I've been slapped twice by Yvonne, like a told twice. But that was me in the sun today. I can feel it on my forehead. Honestly, I can feel it. I ran round the basketball court today. It was just a beautiful sunny day. And the basketball court had that kind of springy stuff on it. And normally I'm in the gym doing the running, right, on the treadmill, and you're always focused because you don't want to be that guy that falls off in the gym. But I just enjoyed running around the basketball court today. It was just, I felt like I was 17 again, and it's just the health kick of being in the gym. So you know, to all of you, not just the men that are in the same age bracket as me, but to all of you, you know, if you want to shift your mindset in some way, getting out and getting your walks in and getting your gym time in, getting a bit of exercise, what a difference it makes. It's just shifted my mindset so much over these last couple of months now. November I started, and I was bloated and feeling heavy, and I've lost about a stone and a half in weight, feeling a bit tighter, just eating a nice clean diet. Yvonne, when she went to the supermarket and was spotted by the little girl, she bought spuds, potatoes, and what else? Potatoes and cans of tuna, and that's what I'm kind of eating for my lunch, and a little bit of Greek yogurt and some oats, raw oats, and some protein powder, and just dialed it in, eating well, cut down no crisps, no chocolate, no alcohol. I've had like a cider, like took the dog for a walk, had a cider one day. Can't remember what the other one. Oh, my pal was in town. We had a cider. That was it. So 2 ciders in the last like 2 months or something, which is rare for me. Yeah, so feeling just a million times better and all of this kind of stuff. Durham was 23 degrees today. I can tell you, let me have a little look. Today it's 26 degrees just now, at just after 1 o'clock in the morning. And during the day today, it was a stonking 33 degrees, but we have acclimatized. I just don't really notice it now. I mean, it's hot, but I'm not out pounding the streets or anything. And I generally only sit out for a short period of time, maybe like half an hour, enjoying the sunshine and soaking it up a little bit. But what a difference it's made to the mindset, just feeling a whole lot different. And Chris, you walked to the bus stop. Right, that's it for this episode for this week. Those are all my tales that I've told you. Thanks for coming along and listening to all of this. Stock market's covered. If you're interested in any more of that information, what I'm writing, how much I'm making from all of that, what stocks I'm looking at, Patreon is the place to go. 78 members, heading towards 100. Thanks for the support on that. If you want to know just a little bit more about my thoughts and things that go on in a week, and you want to sign up to the newsletter, www.johntalksabout.com, and you can register. And new video posting tomorrow, brand new 90-day run through as of tomorrow. And for now, I'm going to go to bed and see if I can try and get some sleep with this bright red head that I've got going on. And I'll see you next week for another live stream. And in between that, video content on YouTube. Thanks so much, everybody. And again, Craig, to you, mate, look after yourself. I wish you all the very best, surgeries and everything else. And to everybody else that's watching, look after yourself, folks. And we'll see you